Hi, I'm Rich Torrey. Welcome to another Level Up Cartooning. All you ever need to follow along with me is a pencil and paper. It doesn't get any easier than that, right? Now, before we get started, make sure you hit the thumbs up and the subscribe button as it helps this channel to grow, and hit the bell so you never miss a lesson. So last week we drew a turnaround of the Roadrunner, half of the legendary Looney Tunes duo of Coyote Roadrunner, who in January will be starring in a new full-length feature film titled Coyote vs. Acme. And having drawn the Roadrunner, I thought it only appropriate that we draw the poor Coyote, whose full name is Wyle E. Coyote. Wyle E. Coyote seems to constantly either be blowing himself up, falling off a cliff, or being run over by a train or a truck, and sometimes all three at the same time. For those who may not know, Wyle E. Coyote is virtually the exact same character that starred in numerous cartoons as Ralph Wolf, along with Sam Sheepdog, in which he, like in the Roadrunner, was highly unsuccessful in capturing and eating his prey, in this case, sheep. Ralph Wolf had a red nose, unlike Wile E. Coyote's black nose, and had white eyes instead of yellow, which Wile E. Coyote has. Anyways, just as a reminder, a turnaround is a series of drawings of a character from different angles. By doing so, you are literally creating a model sheet of that character. We'll start with a front view, then move into various other angles after extending some guidelines across the page to help position the character's features. Drawing a turnaround of a character is an excellent way to really get to know that character, and in an effort to get to know Wile E. Coyote better, let's draw. We're going to draw our turnaround of Wile E. Coyote, step by step, giving you the secret formula to be able to draw him again and again. If you've watched any of my other videos, you know I normally use the character's head to figure out how big the entire character is. Wile E. Coyote, in all four angles, is roughly 6 heads tall. In other words, however tall the oval or circle we use to shape out his head is, his entire body is about 6 of those, not counting his giant coyote ears, which, like the Roadrunner's plume of feathers, is about another 1.5 heads tall. Okay, so what do you say we get drawing our roadmap for a turnaround of Looney Tunes' Wile E. Coyote? So there's our roadmap for our Wile E. Coyote turnaround. Now, before we go into step 2, I want to give you the layout of our Coyote turnaround using simple shapes for those of you who want a screen grab. Just something to help you when laying out your drawing. Okay, so now we're on to step 2. In this step, we do what I call roughing out the features. I want to remind you that until the third and final step, you want to be drawing as light as possible. As I mentioned at the beginning, I use guidelines to help me to position Coyote's beady eyes, long schnozola, body, and overall build. But we don't want those guidelines in the final drawing, so you want to draw them light enough to be able to erase them easily. Okay, so let's rough out the features for our Coyote turnaround. Okay, so there are the roughed out features of our Wile E Coyote turnaround. So now with the roadmap done and the features roughed out, it's time for that final step. In step 3, we get to have fun. We get to draw on the final details of our Wile E Coyote turnaround. We don't have to guess where to put things because we've already done all the hard work to figure that out. In this step, it's okay to draw darker, but you don't want to press too hard and you don't want to mindlessly retrace over the lines you've already drawn. You want to always draw with an eye on tweaking and improving all the way until the very end. Okay, so let's draw the details of our Wile E Coyote turnaround. And that's how you do it. There it is, our turnaround of Wile E Coyote from the Coyote Roadrunner Looney Tunes Classics. So how do you think you did? Understand, if you've never drawn Wile E Coyote before, let alone a turnaround of him, then you cannot expect to have drawn him perfectly. You'll notice I don't spend time coloring old Wile E during this video because I want my lessons to focus solely on the drawing process. Now you have the secret formula, the process for drawing a turnaround of Wile E Coyote. And with that you could draw him again and again, and by all means color him when you're done. I promise each time you draw him, it'll be a little better and a little easier. I also promise the more you work with me, the better you're going to get at all of your cartoon characters. So I'd love to see your turnaround drawing of Wile E Coyote. If you can, take a picture and post it on either Facebook or Instagram. And don't forget to include the hashtag #LevelUpCartooning. I hope you had as much fun as I did with this one. Remember to subscribe and thanks for joining me. Until next time, keep drawing, my friends.